All right. Happy Friday night, everybody. It is OC Steve coming at you with a review of Bill and Ted's third film, Bill and Ted Face the Music. That's right. So this will contain spoilers. So if you're planning on watching Bill and Ted Face the Music, please wait a couple days to watch this video. With that in mind, I'm going to provide some of my thoughts and opinions about it. It's definitely an homage to the original two films. The last film that came out, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, was in 1991. Crazy to think that was almost nearly 30 plus years ago. So that's a trip. There was a tribute, though, to George Carlin, which was one of the main focal points. Being a fan of the late, great comedian George Carlin, I just didn't want him to not be recognized. So there is a nice little homage where they took some digital photo stills and found a way to kind of make a holographic rendition of Rufus in the future when the guys do go visit kind of this collective in the future. You see the phone booth and you see him popping out of the phone booth as kind of this historian figure. So I did enjoy that. We do see the return of Death. We find out about the fallout of the Wyld Stallyns and Death, their great bassist, and why he went back to hell. So seeing that actor return as Death was one of the few gems in this movie that I enjoyed. Two other actors that made this movie amazing were Anthony Carrigan plays this Terminator, but don't call him a Terminator in the movie, robot named Dennis, who's reluctant and is kind of self-aware with an AI and regrets the decisions he makes throughout the movie of attempting to try to kill Bill and Ted and their entire family, and ultimately befriends them when they go to hell to meet Death, inadvertently due to Dennis's bumblings, but he just becomes self-conscious and self-aware. So it's this great transition in the movie. You see him as this badass. Anthony Carrigan is a great bit actor. He's played Victor Zsasz in Gotham, and he plays like the main Ukrainian terrorist in this show called Bernie on HBO. So if you enjoyed this little bit part in The Robot, those are two other great shows to go check him out with. And then Kristen Schaal. I enjoy her. She is always a ray of sunshine in whatever movie she's in. If you've ever watched the show Gravity Falls, she's another one of the main leads in that. She's also in Bob's Burgers, so does a lot of voice work, does a lot of comedy work. It was great to see her in as Kelly, Rufus's daughter in the film, that kind of takes over the George Carlin role for a bit, but has some great comedic scenes in that. And then, Billy Logan, Bridget Lundley Payne, plays Keanu Reeves' daughter in the film, and she's great. You could tell that she really did her homework. I watched, before this, they had Comic-Con at home, and they had a nice little panel with all the actors, and you could tell she openly admits that she didn't watch any of the previous Bill and Ted films, but when she got the role, she really delved deep into learning Keanu's phrases and mannerisms and posture. So hats off to her. It was great. And then some of, got to take the good with the bad. So some of my criticisms were, you could really tell the production value was very cheap for this movie. Like almost Sci-Fi Channel, Lava Lantula meets Sharktopus cheap. And some of the special effects were kind of lacking. But I'm not going to be too harsh on that because, after all, it is Bill and Ted. Those other two movies didn't have the greatest special effects in the world. So, it's kind of, I guess, par for the course that it kind of was out. The plot of them going into the future, and that's not me trying to be a geek going, oh my God, I watched Doctor Who, time travel, and the Avengers movies. But if they're trying to avoid a cataclysmic event that is going to disrupt all space and time, there's no way to go into the future because no future would exist. It's a fixed point in time. To quote Doctor Who, you can't go into the future unless the future exists. So that was kind of weird. I was honestly hoping that they were going to go back into their own past and maybe have some reflective moments and honestly see a classic scene of 89 Bill and Ted meeting 2020 Bill and Ted and going on some different adventures, kind of like Back to the Future. So I enjoyed that. One of the actresses that was really kind of hard to watch that took me out of the film was Samara Weaving. She is the niece of Hugo Weaving, Lord Elrond from Lord of the Rings films, and funny enough, Agent Smith from the Matrix films. She, during that Comic-Con at Home panel, openly admitted to the point where it almost seemed like she didn't care that she had never watched Bill and Ted's films, and she wrote it off as that she was young and it wasn't very popular in Australia. So I'm like, okay, so it really felt like you just took the part because you auditioned for it, not really thinking you were going to get it, and then you took it, but then you really didn't care about it about the same level that Bridget Lunley Payne did. There were just scenes where you could tell she was phoning in an accent, trying to pretend to be Alex Winter's daughter, Thea Preston, in the movie. So kind of in closing, the focus of the other two Bill and Ted films was always the music. Bill and Ted were known synonymously for being airheads, or metalheads, if you will. They really loved the music of the time. They enjoyed hard rock, Van Halen. I mean, Kiss did the song in the second movie that God gave rock and roll to you. So I don't understand how they made that crazy song in the second film, which was supposed to unite the world at the end of Bill and Ted, and then everything fizzed out. So with that in mind, the plot was very forced. It almost felt like somebody wrote this over the course of a weekend to meet a deadline. It just wasn't really hashed out well for having so much time between the other two films. But I'm not going to give it that hard of a time because I can understand that they were trying to cater to everyone when they really should have just doubled down on Generation X and Millennials. I know that they were trying to make this, they embraced all kinds of music to try to make the perfect song to save the world. So they were even trying to entice, the Gen Z pop to come in and come and see this movie. But honestly, if this came out in theaters, I felt that this would have probably been lukewarm, and which is sad because I know we're all riding that Keanu Reeves train right now where we just love everything he says and does. I mean, he's going to be in Cyberpunk 2020. The John Wick films are the best they've ever been. I know Marvel Comics is catering him to be a part in the Marvel Universe, whether that is they're going to try to resurrect Ghost Rider and have him take up the mantle of the Phantom Rider and be Johnny Blaze in those movies, or if they're going to have him be Mark Spector as Moon Knight, subject to change. He's just expressed interest in being a part of the Marvel Universe with this newfound popularity, and Marvel definitely wants him as a part of it. It was... I've watched Sci-Fi Channel films, so I'm not going to totally bash on it. These are just my thoughts and opinions and critiques of the movie. I mean, if I've sat through all the Sharknado films, this definitely was not a hard pill to swallow. And with everything going on in the world that we're living in with a pandemic where we don't have new content, this is definitely something to watch. It's definitely something to watch if you're a Bill and Ted fan. So I would say check it out. At the very worst, it's under an hour and a half, so it's not going to kill you for time. You might have a nostalgia trip, enjoy seeing some of the characters once again. No Station in this film. I miss Station with his most bodacious butt from Bill and Ted 2, the universal engineer and architect that helped them combat their evil robot selves from Bill and Ted 2, was not in the movie. Just a little expressed line from Kid Cudi going, "Station," and them going, "Station." So other than that, no Station in the movie. Can't expect everything, but overall, it was a fun trip. I would say out of the Oso level going to 5, I would give this movie a 3. This is something that could have been on cable. They could have put it on HBO Max as an exclusive, and I think it would have drawn more attention. So that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you thought of Bill and Ted in this review. In these times, we need to really focus on the message of the first movie. With social and political issues, with everything running rampant, let's just all be a little bit nicer. Let's all be a little bit kinder. And at the end of the day, let's be excellent to one another. Thanks for watching the video, and party on, dudes.